Hi, my name's Darren, aka KelpJungle. Welcome to the third video in the series. If you remember the first two videos, we covered the double or nothing tournaments, six-handed and ten-handed turbo. I thought what we'd do today is something a little bit different and look at the six-handed cash games, 10, 20 cent. So we're basically buying in for $20, which is 100 big blinds. It's 3 a.m. in the morning, so there's only a couple of tables open at these stakes. I'm waitlisting on a second table, so hopefully we'll get on there soon. Um, it's only the second hand. I actually picked up Ace King the first hand, raised to standard three big blinds, got one caller, Ace High flop, bet three-quarters of the pot. They've got one caller, and then they folded to a turn bet. So probably unlikely they had an ace. Might have had some kind of draw. There was a queen on board as well, or maybe just some sort of middling pair. Again, I haven't got the poker tracking or hold'em manager software on here until we've covered that in detail. I don't really want the heads-up displays all over the screen for those who don't understand what they're used for. So we will be probably at a slight disadvantage, but at these stakes, we're going to be playing pretty standard poker. Oh, here we go. Oh no, that's not the one we want. That was a 10 cent. I think we'll leave that for now and wait until the 10-20 becomes available. Let me just make sure we're still waitlisting on that one. And we're next in line, so it shouldn't be too long. Yeah, so going to be using a pretty basic strategy here. I mean, we can deviate from it slightly depending on the opponent, or how the table is. If the table's tight, the table's loose. If there's a lot of three betting. But just to give you an idea of what hands we'll be playing, we're going to be fairly tight under the gun. Because we're going to be playing most hands out of position. We'll be opening suited aces from Ace King to Ace 9. We'll be opening offsuit aces, Ace King to Ace 10. We'll be playing all suited broadways, so that's any two cards 10 or higher suited. And we'll also be playing some of the better offsuit broadways, such as your King Queen, your King Jack, and your Queen Jack off. Occasionally we might throw in a suited connector, something like the 8-9 suited or 7-8 suited, and we'll be playing every pair. We do play, I certainly play pairs from every position, so that's pocket twos under the gun. We'll open for a raise. Sometimes if the pot's been raised in front of us, we'll put in a 3-bet with the better pairs. We might just flat call with the lower pairs, or sometimes we'll use them as a squeeze play if there's a few limpers or razor and one and two limpers. And what I'll do is I'll also show you how I play them after the flop. But that's under the gun. Under the gun +1 doesn't change too much as you would expect. It's still the second worst position to be in. We'll now play suited aces down to Ace 6. We'll play pretty much all broadways now, excluding possibly the Queen 10. But if we say all broadways, and we'll also add Ace 9 offsuit into the mix as well. And we'll definitely be playing suited connectors now, 10-9, 9-8, 8-7, possibly 7-6, and we'll still be playing all of our pairs. Just obviously for the positions, this is let me just get this sorted for you. Yeah, obviously under the gun is the first to act after the blinds. Under the gun +1. Well, this is probably better. Under the gun +1. This is the cutoff. This is the button. Obviously, these are where we really want to be picking up hands. When I said the worst position is under the gun, obviously, if you're going to play something out the small blind or the big blind, then they then become the worst position. But I mean, positions where you haven't already got some money in the pot. So under the gun +1. So when we get to the cutoff, we can loosen up a lot now. We can play all suited aces. It's ace king down to ace 2. We're still playing all broadways. We're playing ace king to ace 6 off, and we're pretty much playing all suited connectors. Maybe can discount 2, 3, and possibly 4, 5. But I mean, everything else we are going to be playing. And then on the button, in an open pot, you can really play most cards. You know, you don't want to be playing things like 9-3, 7-2, 8-4 off. But you know, most hands that have something about them, you know, even 7-5 off, something that, you know, can connect with a flop. Because remember, you're just trying to steal the blinds, but if you do get called off the smaller big blind, you are going to have position in the hand, so you will be continuation betting on the flop, probably vast majority, between 80 and 90% of the time. And of course, sometimes you will have the best hand when you connect well. I'll fold that hand there. From the small blind, you'd probably be better off raising your better hands, your better button range. So all your aces, broadways, suited kings, you know, down to about king 8, king 7, suited queens down to about queen 9, queen 8. But getting rid of the things like the 7-5, 7-6 off even. Because if you are up against the big blind, then you will be out of position if it's just heads up between the two of you. So we haven't really had any hands yet, but when I do open the pot, I'll be opening 3 big blinds, except for when I'm on the button, where I just min raise. The 2 reasons for that. One, we can min raise here as an example. It doesn't matter if I've got you know, 6, 7, or if I've got aces, I'll still be min raising from the button. What you don't want to be doing is you know, min raising and then suddenly raising 4 big blinds when you've got a big hand. Even players at this level will pick up on that. So we always raise the same. What that means is you're getting value when the big blinds call light, because they think, oh, it's only one, you know, in effect one big blind more. But you're also not getting into trouble when you raise and light yourself and the smaller big blind decide to 3-bet. You can either then fold the hand, or you can you can call and play the hand in position. If this had been a slightly better suited connector, I would be tempted to call in position, but I'm actually going to just let that one go. 2-3 suited is slightly weak. I know I'm doing a lot of talking at the minute, but hopefully I'll get a chance to show you putting some of these things into practice. Keeping with the betting, if I'm raising 3 big blinds in an open pot, I'll generally add 1 big blind for each limper, or each or if there's been a raise already. So we're going to raise 3 times the big blind there. If there's been perhaps a raise already to 3 times the big blind, then what I generally do is raise slightly more than 3 times that raise. So from 3 big blinds, I would be re-raising to 10 big blinds. And if someone has actually re-raised me, so let's say for example there's the min raise again. So if I raise 3 big blinds and someone raises me to 10 big blinds, then what I don't want to be doing then is re-raising just over 3 times their bet, because you're going to be putting in about 30-35 big blinds. What I'll do then is a little bit more than a min raise, so I'll re-raise from about 10 big blinds to about 23-24. I mean, if it's a really weak player or someone who's prone to calling, then I certainly don't mind raising it to about 30 big blinds, especially if I'm looking for action with a big pair. But all this will hopefully come much more clearer when we get a chance to, when we get a chance to put this all into action. If you've noticed, we've played a few pots, but my balance doesn't seem to be going down. I always like to have 100 big blinds. You find most regular players do have the auto top-up option, which can be found under your there you go, auto top-up under the table action or the settings tab. So that will always top me up if I fall below 100 big blinds. It doesn't have to be 100 big blinds. You can set it at 50, 75, etc. But I wouldn't recommend, especially when you're starting, I would recommend playing 100 big blinds. I think we touched on this in one of the previous videos. It's a good habit to get into. It's a good stack to work with. And you kind of by raising 3 big blinds, and then the options from there, it's quite straightforward. If you hit a monster hand, if you're betting 3/4 of the pot on the flop and the turn, you're going to be committed, and often you'll get paid off. If you're playing 50 big blinds or less, you've really given yourself a kind of a decision on the flop. If you've especially if you've been someone who's 3-bet to say 10 big blinds, you haven't got much to maneuver. So 100 big blinds. If you're not comfortable having the auto top up, you don't need to do that, but I think as you get more competent, it's definitely worth doing. And also, if you have a look for the players who haven't got the auto top up on, they're normally players who are not going to, well, they not necessarily fish, but I would imagine that they'll not be the regulars, the grinders so much. They might pay you off more. You might get more action from them. Not always the case, but it's as a general rule, until they tell you or show you otherwise, then you should be looking out for things like that, and they should be the weaker players, and that's the weaker players will be where you get your money and your the profit from. So if we just look at this Jamshi Manyo, he's playing 2 tables. He's possibly playing more. Obviously, we haven't looked into that. This flop looks all right for us. Slightly more than half the pot. If I'm betting half the pot on a C bet, you want to be balancing it between a half pot bet and a 3/4 bet when you do hit the flop. Otherwise, again, more perceptive players will pick up on that. Although at this level, it's not, balancing your range and things like that isn't as important as, say, when you're moving up the levels to like the 1, 2 and the $2, $4. And the strategy we're using would be the same strategy that you'd use for 5 cent, 10 cent, even lower than that, and even taking the step up to like 25, 50, and even possibly 51. This strategy would work. But like I touched on again in the other video, I prefer the level 10, 20 and above than I do the 5, 10. I think the 5, 10 is for some reason it's one of the hardest. You can beat it, but you really have to grind it out. It's just full of rocks at that level. When you look at the ranges, I mean, there's so many that have ranges about 9 to 12% ranges, which pretty much means they're just playing tens plus pocket pairs, tens to aces and ace kings, ace queens, and very little else other than that. Now I'm sandwiched in the middle of 2 players here, but what I am going to do is I'm going to check, even though I was